I am Bob Phillips, and I'm the mayor of the city of Lewisburg. I have been mayor for the past 12 years. Hello, how are you this morning? My real job here is a pharmacist. I spend most of my time at the pharmacy.
Okay.
Mayor Bob Phillips of Lewisburg, Tennessee, is the first person to tell you that he and his municipal government are not experts in finance.
We're little, and we depend on people wiser than us in financial ways to keep us informed, tell us what things mean, and I really didn't think we got that.
On advice from the same investment bank that later profited from the deal, Lewisburg became involved in the complex world of municipal bond derivatives, financial instruments designed to mitigate risk and save money for cities and counties. Now, because of the global financial crisis, the deal has unraveled, and city officials are scrambling to cover interest payments that have quadrupled to $1 million a year. Phillips says he regrets taking advice and guidance from the same investment bank that profited from this sophisticated deal gone bad.
I'd never heard them that they were derivatives, the feared derivatives, the derivatives that supposedly drove the world banking market to its knees.
The investment bank that acted as both financial advisor and derivative salesman was Tennessee-based Morgan Keegan. The bank has sold $2 billion worth of municipal bond derivatives to cities and counties across Tennessee, with similar results. Officials in those places are now struggling to come up with high interest rate payments on bills that have suddenly become due.
Mr. Doe, we thank you for joining us, the Municipal Market Advisors.
Recent figures identify an estimated $2.7 trillion in outstanding municipal debt.
Municipal bond experts like Thomas Doe are concerned that investment banks like Morgan Keegan have been marketing risky bonds to unsophisticated small-town governments.
Many people that are in positions of public officials that are involved with the borrowing of money and handling financings, raising money to build things for capital needs is a very small portion of their job. And many don't have the expertise or the resources to monitor an ongoing transaction, and they may not even really understand exactly what they've entered into.
Item 2 is approval of the minutes.
What Lewisburg had entered into back in 2004 was known as a municipal bond interest rate swap. The goal was to save money for the city as it repaid a bond for water and sewer expansion to a new business park designed to attract much-needed jobs to the area.
Of course, in that, we'd hope that water and sewer would be what would bring commercial businesses to the interstate exit too.
The city's water department issued $7 million in municipal bonds, and that is where the problem began. To get a lower interest rate, the town issued variable rate bonds, as opposed to the traditional, conservative, fixed interest rate bonds.
There's a lot of risks associated with variable rate debt. But a lot of cities entered into and started using variable rate debt because they're looking at historically low short-term interest rates, and they're thinking, wow, you know what, we can build that school or that fire hall and we won't have to raise property taxes.
To mitigate that risk, investment banks offered interest rate swaps as a form of protection. But these contracts were complex, unregulated, and full of hidden fees.
Well, the state of Tennessee, to their credit, when they allowed local governments to enter into swaps, they said, okay, you have to go to an education program. You have to learn about the risks associated with these swap agreements.
This is the educational presentations manual that was used in 2003.
Kenneth Carr is now superintendent of the town's water department. He attended one of these education programs known as swap schools.
The state seal of Tennessee is on each page in the manual.
The schools are supposed to give city and county officials an understanding of the complicated transactions and alert them to both the risks and rewards. But because no one else was willing or qualified to run the swap schools, Morgan Keegan and their lawyers gave the seminars themselves.
What that turned into was essentially an 8-hour infomercial by purveyors of this type of product. So local governments were told that they needed to go if they wanted to buy this new thing and be involved in this new thing that'll save them money. And they go and they listen, and what they hear, how they hear about it is from somebody who's going to sell them the product.
Carr says the seminar he attended was not overtly skewed, but employees in other Tennessee cities interviewed by the New York Times said that there was little or no emphasis on the risks of an interest rate swap. And in a swap school manual examined by the New York Times, there was no mention of what would happen if the bond insurer's credit rating were downgraded. But that is precisely what did happen to dozens of swaps in Tennessee, including Lewisburg's.
From the standpoint, did I come away as a financial authority on swaps? No.
A representative of Morgan Keegan declined to be interviewed on camera, but he told the New York Times that their seminars were, quote, designed to deal equally with risk and reward. The course was approved by the state comptroller's office. The risks involved in the swap only became apparent when Wall Street blew up last year. It turned out that the swap deal for Lewisburg's municipal bonds was insured by a company that also insured subprime mortgage-backed securities. When the bond insurer went bankrupt, the deal collapsed.
When they were downgraded, that downgraded the value of our bonds, and they were actually no better than bank notes now, and they were going to be due in 7 years rather than 17 years. Well, that's a lot tougher payout.
Councilman Whitehead makes that motion. Is there a second?
In the end, because of Lewisburg's good credit rating and fiscal policy, the town's leaders are confident that they will be able to issue new, more conservative bonds to cover some of their losses. But other municipalities in Tennessee have paid at least $100,000 each in fees and refinancing costs they can ill afford. Morgan Keegan says the bankrupting of the deal's insurer was an unforeseen event. Quote, people are upset. We're upset too. We've been very successful helping a lot of communities try to weather the storm. Obviously, there are going to be a few disappointments.
We've had some experience with difficulties all across the country with these instruments.
After the New York Times began its investigation, the state comptroller ordered a statewide freeze on interest rate swaps.
Everyone will tell you, well, we didn't predict it, but had there been, I think, closer monitoring of what was going on, you would have seen at least the storm coming, and we could have taken some steps. But there's no disclosure required. There's no supervision of these instruments. It's a big unknown.
As for Mayor Phillips, he has already had enough of complex financial instruments.
No. Nothing that says derivative, nothing that says swap, and I would like to know up front what it's going to be for the whole payoff time.